He survived 3 combat tours, saved 12 lives, and came home a hero, only to be shot in broad daylight by a cop who never even looked at his ID. As the world watched in horror, the Pentagon stepped in, and a quiet soldier's story became a national reckoning no one could ignore. Eli Turner had driven this road 100 times, past the weathered billboards, the cracked sidewalks, the old oak that leaned over Route 67 like a silent witness. His mind was on the weekend ahead, helping his mother patch the roof, maybe grilling in the backyard, anything to remind him he was finally home. After 3 tours overseas, home should have been safe. The cruiser appeared behind him in the rear view, red and blue lights exploding against dusk. Eli blinked, signaled, and pulled to the shoulder without hurry. He shifted the SUV into park, took a deep breath, rolled down his window. His military ID was clipped to his visor, the same place he'd kept it since the day he'd driven off base. Boot steps approached fast, too fast. Eli's pulse quickened, but his training held. He didn't move. The officer appeared, face flushed, jaw locked. "Out, now," he barked. Eli kept his voice low, steady. "Yes, sir." He opened the door, stepped out slowly, both hands high above his head. The wind lifted the corner of his hoodie, revealing the edge of the bronze star tattooed across his ribs. His wallet and ID slipped from his grip, landing near the officer's boot. The cop didn't look down. "You one of those street boys?" he spat, voice dripping with contempt. "You think you're special?" "I'm Staff Sergeant Eli Turner," he said evenly. "United States Army." The officer's smirk was as cold as the steel in his hand. "Yeah?" His finger tensed on the trigger. "Then you should be used to this." Eli never saw the flash. The impact knocked the breath out of him, the ground rushing up as pain exploded across his chest. He gasped, eyes fixed on the sky overhead, the shape of the branches blurring as screams erupted all around him. Phones rose, voices cracked with panic. "Call an ambulance." The officer stood over him, gun still raised. "Stay down." Blood pooled beneath Eli's shoulder blades. His heartbeat roared in his ears, but he forced himself to stay conscious. He had survived firefights worse than this. He wasn't going to die on the side of an American road. Sirens wailed in the distance. A woman's voice, shaking but determined, spoke into her phone. He didn't resist. He was calm. He said he was Army. The cop shot him anyway. The video went live within minutes. By the time Eli was stabilized in the trauma ward, 20 million people had watched. The headlines were everywhere. Decorated black soldier shot by police in traffic stop. Pentagon demands answers. Veterans flooded the hospital lobby, uniforms pressed, medals glinting under harsh fluorescent lights. News anchors replayed Eli's combat footage, the day he carried 2 wounded teammates out of a burning convoy, the ceremony where he received his Bronze Star. And now this. At the precinct, the officer who fired the shot sat behind a metal desk, face drained of color. An internal affairs agent read his rights aloud in a monotone. "You are hereby relieved of duty. Pending criminal charges." He didn't protest. He didn't have the words. 3 days later, Eli returned, this time in full dress uniform, the Bronze Star pinned to his chest. The courtroom stood as he entered, some in guilt, others in respect. Even the judge's voice trembled. "Staff Sergeant Turner, thank you for your service." Across the aisle, the former officer stared down at the floor. Testimonies began. Generals who had commanded Eli spoke of his courage under fire. Combat medics described the lives he'd saved. A psychologist outlined the invisible scars Eli still carried. The jury deliberated less than 2 hours. Verdict: guilty. Abuse of power. Intent to harm. When the sentence was read, Eli didn't cheer. He simply closed his eyes, because he knew this victory wasn't just his. It was for every veteran who came home expecting peace and found fear instead. And every Black American who never stopped wondering if compliance would be enough. What would you do if this was your reality? Drop a comment and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because silence protects injustice and your voice matters.